Hey everyone, welcome to Pollock Academy, and you see where I am today, a Chicago meatpacking plant. At this time of rapid growth and expansion in America, we're seeing that the problems aren't just in the cities and in the tenements and at your home. They've now spilled into your work life. All right, let's take a look at this list. You see here that these are the progressive era problems. These issues you see are mostly in the workplace, but I only listed 12. But if we had to, we could probably list some more. So, how are we going to solve all these problems? We know that there are some solutions in the mix. We know that Jane Addams and the settlement houses are doing their part, but they can't do it all. In order to start making change, we're going to get some help from some journalists called Muckrakers, which is the subject of this video. They're going to use the power of the media to raise awareness and start making change.
Before we get into these muckrakers, first let's make sure we understand what the Progressive Era means. The Progressive Era was a roughly 20-year period where Americans realized the economic and social problems in society and wanted to fix them. You'll probably hear the word reform when talking about this era, and that term means to bring about positive change or to fix something. So the question is, how do we bring about change? I want to bring back my lecture icon, this guy with the bullhorn. I know we haven't seen him in a while, but I use him to let students know how did people learn about things during history. As I always say, change can't happen unless citizens are informed and engaged. And the Muckrakers were doing just that, using the media to raise awareness, or as I like to say, expose. You've probably heard the word expose from this video.
Expose him! Expose him!
As funny as that video is, he is illustrating my point. Doesn't the guy want the player to be exposed, the crowd to know that he can't hang? In this case, these muckrakers were journalists using books, newspapers, and other media to expose problems in the country. Even though there are a whole bunch of muckrakers we can go over, I'm going to focus on 3 for this video. First, let's look at Jacob Riis. Jacob Riis made his fame by writing a book called How the Other Half Lives. This book was based on a series of photographs he took in the tenements of New York. He was using newly invented flash photography to get into these tenements and expose how people were living. His photographs and the writings about people's experiences shocked America. People now literally saw firsthand dangerous, dirty tenements and sometimes some dangerous people. Jacob Riis also had photographs of children, and you know people are going to be upset if they see sickly, sad children who should be in school but now are on the street. Riis's book, How the Other Half Lives, led to a lot of changes in housing laws and community standards. Laws pertaining to housing, construction, and safety were passed, as well as schools and communities offering playgrounds and open space for fresh air and recreation. The next muckraker we'll talk about is Upton Sinclair. His 1906 book, The Jungle, led to a lot of necessary changes in the meatpacking industry. Sinclair went undercover for 7 weeks and interviewed many immigrant workers in and around Chicago's meatpacking plants. And the story Sinclair wrote, let's just say, really grossed people out, man. Look at this excerpt from The Jungle. People were disgusted at the meatpacking plant's practices. They allowed dirty, rotten, contaminated meat to be sold, injected chemical preservatives into the products, and mislabeled them to sell to the public, often as a way for the company to make extra money on products they would normally throw away. Even though Sinclair originally wrote the book to expose the harsh conditions of workers, people were just too focused on the food industry, and this led to new laws with food safety and food preparation. I'm sure you've seen these labels on packages of food in the grocery store. Next time you see one, think Upton Sinclair. The last muckraker we'll focus on is Ida B. Wells. Wells was a reporter and a writer who exposed a harsh and unjust experience of African Americans in the Jim Crow South after slavery. Her work focused on the violence against African Americans, which included lynching. Her most famous book was called The Red Record, known by its long-form name, The Red Record: Tabulated Statistics and Alleged Causes of Lynching in the United States, 1892 to 1894. Wells continued to use data to raise awareness of the African American experience in the South. She further fought for women's voting rights and helped found the NAACP with W.E.B. Du Bois. Ida B. Wells's work is still celebrated and recreated through groups like the Equal Justice Initiative, who not only document the statistics of racial violence in America, but also raise awareness through education of racial inequality and injustice. Let's do a quick Muckraker recap. Remember, without this knowledge, how are things going to change? Jacob Riis, who exposed unsafe and crowded city life with photography.
Expose him!
Next was Upton Sinclair, who exposed the horrors of the food processing industry with his book, The Jungle.
Expose him!
And last we have Ida B. Wells, who exposed the violence and lynching of African Americans in the Jim Crow South with her book, The Red Record.
Expose him!
Thanks for listening to Pollock Academy.